This is Under the Radar, where each week we look at different NBA players and teams from each conference, and we go over all the good and the bad. It was week 3 for the NBA. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Let's get into it. Let's kick things off with my player from the East. He doesn't win a lot of games, but he does try his hardest, and he's a lot of fun to watch. I'm looking at LaMelo Ball. Let me tell you what LaMelo has been doing the last couple of games. When he won against Indiana, it was 11 points, 11 assists. When he was going up against Dallas, it was 30 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists, triple-double action. Versus Washington, it was 34 points, 7 assists. When it was against Washington again, it was 25 points and 6 assists. Like I said, when it comes to winning, it's not quite their strong suit. Of the few games I mentioned, they only won 2, and outside there's 1 more, and that's all the games they won for the entire season. But we're talking about LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is easily one of the best passers in the entire league, and he is so flashy and confident when he plays. Again, whether they're winning or losing, you know you're in for a treat when he's playing. His passing is so accurate that sometimes when I'm sitting down watching the game, I got to be careful that he's not passing the ball to me, because even when he is, it's dead accurate. Aside from his passing, he's also super quick, a slept-on defender, and if he catches fire, his shot can be pretty dangerous. My next player from the West, I should be able to just say his name and nothing else, and it should speak for itself. But in case you don't know, I'm looking at Luka Doncic. Let's just take a second and not even discuss week 3, but let's just look at what he's averaging for the season. 33 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. That is what he's averaging for the season. Now that you see what he's averaging for the season, here's what he was doing the last few games. Against the Clippers, this man had 44 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, with an 81% field goal percentage. When he went up against Denver, he had 34 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Then against the Raptors, he had 31 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, and 4 steals. As of today, they are second in the Western Conference with a 7-2 record. They also have the second best offense in the entire NBA right now. Luka has been breaking records left and right like it's nothing. But the one record he might break this year is child support, because this man has been taking in players and teams and raising them. You can add the Clippers to the list of teams he has completely dismantled. One of the most annoying parts about Luka's game is how consistently clutch he is. Sometimes I'm watching again, I'm like, okay, there's no way he's gonna make another shot. Okay, he just made another shot. Huge warning to any fan that has not gone to their game yet to watch them play against Luka, because when he comes, he will dismantle and possibly embarrass your entire franchise. Enough about Luka Doncic, because I have a team from the East that needs some recognition right now, and it is the Philadelphia 76ers. This team has been in news coverage constantly for the last few weeks, but it has not been basketball related, so I am here to save the day and tell you how good the Philadelphia 76ers have been so far this season. This team has been making headlines nonstop for the last few weeks, but not for basketball related reasons, so that's why I'm here to save the day. Now, despite all of the drama and crap they have been dealing with for the last few weeks, these guys are on a 7-game win streak. It is currently the longest in the NBA. They beat the Celtics, they beat the Suns, they even beat the Detroit Pistons. Who saw that coming? Now, I do want to take a moment to wish a speedy recovery for Kelly Oubre. He was recently just hit by a car. He has some broken ribs, bruises, scratches, all that stuff. He played a huge role for them in winning all the games that they have. We wish you a speedy recovery, man, and hope everything works out and you're back on the court as soon as possible. Kelly Oubre has done some great things starting for them. Another player that has been really good is Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris has actually been showing some really good consistency over the last few games. He's had a positive plus and minus over the last few games, and he's been scoring pretty consistently. Obviously, Joel Embiid does what Joel Embiid does. We already know that he's amazing and he's a huge reason why they're winning the games, but also Maxey has had double-digit assists in 3 of the last 4 games that they played, all while scoring more than James Harden did and playing better defense. I would have traded James Harden for Gatorade for Maxey 2 months ago. Philly has a lot going on, and they got more pieces after the James Harden trade to add to their depth. Let's go Philly. Oh God. Okay, I got to get into the bad team now for the East. I'm looking at the Detroit Pistons. While the Sixers are on a 7-game win streak, the Pistons are on a 7-game losing streak. I mean, what are you, the Memphis Grizzlies? Actually, as of today, the Grizzlies have a worse record than the Pistons. Now, I was a bit torn with my Eastern disappointments because it was between the Detroit Pistons or Giannis's free throws. I decided to go with the Pistons because they've been losing a lot. They have one of the worst offenses in the entire league, but somehow are top 5 in assists. Now, to be fair, the schedule that the Pistons have sucks. They clearly pissed somebody off. They had to go against OKC, Portland, the Pelicans, the Suns, the Warriors, the Bucks, the Sixers. Absolutely brutal. I don't know who would win a lot of those games, but it is a little disappointing because they're a young team, and I would have liked to have seen them scrape away at least a few wins out of that schedule to really show the talent that they have. But maybe next week. They did, however, beat the Bulls and the Hornets. Whatever that's worth to you. Now to get back to talking about positive things, I have a team from the West that has been doing absolutely incredible. My team for the West is the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think these guys have finally figured it out. They are top 3 in rebounds, but more importantly, they have the #1 defense in the entire league. They are on a 5-game win streak and have beaten some very impressive teams. They are the first and last team to have beat the Nuggets this season. They beat the Jazz, they beat the Celtics, and they also beat the Spurs. To be completely honest, at the beginning, I wasn't fully sold on Anthony Edwards. I knew he would be a great player, but I didn't know if he would be the guy. And I also didn't have a lot of faith in Minnesota building around him and putting him in a winning situation. But I'm happy to report I was wrong, and I think the Rudy Gobert trade is actually starting to work out. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but that overtime victory against Boston was one of the craziest things I have seen. He looked possessed. And more importantly, he looked pissed off. He was shooting the ball. He was defending. He was doing everything they needed to do to win that game. Outside of him, I honestly didn't think Mike Conley can still be running an offense at the starting position. But here we are. I also didn't like Karl Anthony Towns playing the 4, and I didn't think it would work, but here we are. I was also worried about Anthony Edwards being the #1 guy for a franchise, but again, here we are. Minnesota has just been way too much for teams because these guys are the best defending team in the league, like I said. And I think the offense is on its way there too, so keep an eye out for the Minnesota Timberwolves this season. There goes my good mood because now it's time to talk about my disappointing team from the West, the New Orleans Pelicans. These guys are on a 4-game losing streak, and to put into perspective how disastrous this season has been so far, Zion has been the healthiest and most consistent player in their starting lineup. It's disappointing to me because this is our first chance to really see what Zion's made of. So to see him healthy and playing out there is nice and cool to see, but they haven't been winning. Granted, he hasn't been playing that bad, but they haven't been winning games. And if you remember all of the hype built around him when he got drafted, this man was supposed to be the next Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. And the Pelicans as a whole have the 3rd worst offense in the entire league, which is so head-scratching because they have really good offensive players. Their biggest issue, though, is passing. There is a lot of ISO ball happening with that team. They have some great scorers, but scorers that score on their own. They are ranked 2nd to last in the league when it comes to assists. They're also in the bottom half for rebounds and defense. It's a Mardi Gras miracle these guys have even won games this season. On the bright side, I do think long-term, they're gonna figure it out. I think with the right adjustments and more chemistry building, they'll be okay. But what I miss, who am I sleeping on? Let me know in the comments or wherever you feel like it. I'm Jay, this is Under the Radar, and I'll be back next week.